I discovered that my husband of more than 20 years was having an affair. The other woman was only 20 years old, young enough to be our daughter. When I confronted him, he didn't deny it. He didn't even try. Instead, he looked at me coldly and said, "Just divorce me. I'm choosing her. You can take custody of the kids." In that moment, my world shattered. I couldn't even find the words to respond. And then he dropped another bomb. His mistress was pregnant. I told our daughters everything. They were furious, heartbroken, and surprisingly supportive of me. After talking with them, I made a decision. A drastic one. "Just wait," I told myself silently. "I'll get my revenge soon enough." My name is Natalie Johnson. I'm 47 years old. I married my husband John when I was 25. He was the same age. Before I knew it, more than 20 years had passed. We had built a life together and raised 3 daughters. Our oldest was already in college. The younger 2 were in high school. They weren't completely independent yet, but they were old enough to manage most things on their own. With the kids growing up, I finally had more time to focus on my career. I had been working for a large company since before I got married. Over the years, I climbed the ranks. In fact, I earned more than my husband. The house we lived in had been inherited from my parents, so we didn't even have a mortgage. Financially, we were comfortable. Life felt stable, maybe even peaceful. Now that the girls were older, John and I had started spending more time together again. One evening, we sat at the kitchen table sharing a beer. John suddenly grinned like a teenager. "Hey, Natalie," he said, "the kids don't need us as much anymore. How about we take a trip? Just the 2 of us. Like the old days." I laughed. "Oh really? When was the last time we traveled together?" "You're always busy helping everyone around here," he said. "And we both work hard. We deserve a little break." "Well, that's true," I admitted. "The girls are old enough to take care of things for a few days. So should we leave the housework to them?" he joked. "Sounds perfect," I said, smiling. "I'll just have to request some vacation days at work." "So where should we go?" he asked. "Maybe somewhere relaxing, like a hot spring resort." "That sounds amazing," he said. His face lit up with excitement as he started talking about possible destinations. Seeing him so happy made me smile too. During my commute or whenever I had a free moment at work, I found myself browsing travel websites. We slowly narrowed down our options. I even told our daughters about our plans. They teased us, but they seemed happy that we were planning something together. I was genuinely excited. It felt like we were rediscovering our relationship again. About a month after we first started planning the trip, something strange happened. I came home from work one evening expecting John to already be there. He usually arrived before me. But that day he wasn't home. Our daughters didn't know where he was either. Normally, if he was going to be late, he would call. But there had been no message. No explanation. By the time the clock passed 10 p.m., I started to feel uneasy. If he didn't come home soon, I decided I would call him. Just as I was thinking that, the front door finally opened. It was a little after 11 p.m. John stepped inside. "Welcome home," I said quickly, walking toward him. I was getting worried. "You're really late." But something about his expression made my stomach drop. He looked serious, almost distant. "What happened?" I asked. "Is everything okay at work?" He hesitated. Then he slowly opened his mouth. "Natalie." His voice sounded heavy. "We need to talk." My heart began to pound. "Talk about what?" I asked nervously. "You look so serious." He took a deep breath. "I've been having an affair." I stared at him. "What?" I said, he continued coldly. "I've been cheating on you with another woman." For a moment I couldn't even speak. The words refused to come out. I was simply too shocked to process what I had just heard. Cheating? My husband. The word felt unreal in my mouth. "What are you saying?" I stammered. "An affair? That has to be a joke. You wouldn't do that." "But I did," John said calmly. "It's been going on for a year." "A year?" I repeated, my voice shaking. "That's impossible. You never showed any signs." "I tried my best to keep it from you," he admitted. "I met her after work when you were busy. When I said I had weekend shifts, I was actually going out with her." "No, that's not true," I whispered. "You wouldn't do that." Suddenly he grabbed my shoulders and looked straight into my eyes. "I'm really sorry," he said. But there's no turning back now. What do you mean there's no turning back? I demanded. Stop joking around. We've been married for 20 years. He looked away. Anyway, that's the situation. I want a divorce. I want to be with her. A divorce? For her? I stared at him in disbelief. What is going on? We were just talking about going on a trip together. I'm sorry, he repeated. But his apology felt empty. I couldn't even process what was happening. It felt like the man standing in front of me had suddenly become a stranger. Through tears, I forced him to explain everything. According to John, the woman he had been seeing worked at his company. She was a junior employee, barely 20 years old. A temporary worker who had joined the company about a year earlier. Because she was new, John had been assigned as her mentor. At first he helped her with work after hours. Then they started meeting for coffee during breaks. Eventually those meetings turned into dinners. And before long, they were having an affair. As he talked about her, his voice softened. She's so innocent, he said. Kitu. She really depends on me. I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. You've got to be kidding me, I said bitterly. She's 27 years younger than you. But he kept talking about her charm. Every word made me feel smaller. More worthless. And then he dropped the final bomb. You remember when I said I wanted a divorce for her sake? He said quietly. Yes. She's pregnant. The room spun. Pregnant. I whispered. He nodded. So I think I should take responsibility and marry her. For a moment I couldn't breathe. Thankfully, he continued casually, our daughters are already growing up and becoming independent. Wait a minute, I snapped. That doesn't matter. Those girls are still our daughters. Don't worry, he said with a small smile. You can have custody. What? His calm expression made my blood boil. Did he really think giving me custody would fix everything? Felt like he was mocking me. The sadness inside me quickly turned into rage. Before I knew it, I was shouting louder than I ever had in my life. Don't be ridiculous. This is insane. There's no point arguing, he replied coldly. The child that's about to be born means everything to me now. Then why did you suggest that trip? I demanded. I was actually looking forward to it. I didn't know she was pregnant at the time. So if she hadn't gotten pregnant, I shot back, you would have just kept cheating on me in secret? He shrugged. Well, anyway, he said casually, I'm bringing her here tomorrow. We can discuss everything together then. Before I could react, he placed a stack of papers on the table. Divorce papers. Already filled out. Then he walked straight to the bathroom, leaving me standing there in shock. What on earth just happened? He suddenly confessed to an affair. Then told me his mistress was pregnant. How much more humiliation was he planning to pile on me? I had spent the evening cooking dinner and waiting for him. Now I felt like a complete fool. Anger, sadness, and disbelief swirled inside me. But no matter how furious I felt, the reality wouldn't change. So I decided something. If this was happening, I would face it head-on. The next day, just as he promised, John brought his mistress to our house. Before they arrived, I told my daughters to stay in their rooms. I didn't want them witnessing this mess. When they came inside, I asked them both to sit on the couch. The girl introduced herself as Lisa. She looked painfully young. I'm truly sorry about all of this, she said quietly, bowing her head. Your apology doesn't change anything, I replied firmly. My husband and I have 3 daughters. And I made sure she understood exactly what that meant. I understand that, Lisa said softly. But for the sake of the baby I'm carrying, could you please divorce John? For a moment I thought I had misheard her. What? I snapped. Why should I destroy my family for your child? The nerve of this girl was unbelievable. Anger surged through me. This is ridiculous, I said sharply. Lisa suddenly covered her mouth, looking shocked. Before I could say anything else, John rushed to her side. Lisa, are you okay? He asked anxiously. I'm sorry, she said weakly. I think it's just morning sickness. His expression immediately filled with concern. What do you need? Do you want to go to the bathroom? Yes. Could you show me where it is? Of course. This way. He gently guided her down the hallway. Watching him treat her with such care made something inside me turn cold. When they returned a few minutes later, he spoke softly to her. Take it easy, okay? Our precious baby is inside you. Sorry, Lisa said quietly. Natalie's reaction just surprised me. Then she added with an innocent smile. If she had agreed to the divorce right away, none of this would have happened. John squeezed her hand. It's okay, he said. We'll get through this together. They stood there holding hands like a couple in some romantic movie. In that moment something inside me hardened. If only he had come to me honestly and asked for a divorce. But instead he betrayed me, and then blamed me for resisting. So you think this is my fault? I said coldly. You're the one who cheated on me. I took a slow breath. Fine. If that's how things are going to be, then I'll agree to the divorce. There was nothing more to discuss. Soon after, I escorted both of them to the door and watched them leave. Then I locked it behind them. A moment later, my daughters quietly came out of their rooms. They had obviously heard everything. Mom, is it true? My oldest daughter asked carefully. I nodded. There was no point hiding it anymore. I gathered them in the living room and explained everything about their father's affair. We're getting divorced, I said. So you'll need to decide who you want to live with. My daughters exchanged a quick glance. Then all three answered at the same time. Obviously we're staying with Mom. But my second daughter added something else. It's not fair if Dad just walks away without consequences. My youngest nodded. Exactly. We should teach him and that woman a lesson. The three of them quickly started whispering together. Within minutes they had already formed a plan. I had to admit, my daughters were clever. Their idea surprised me. But after thinking about it I smiled. All right, I said. Let's do it. A few days later I called John and asked him to come over to discuss alimony. When he arrived I got straight to the point. I'll be requesting fair alimony after the divorce, I told him calmly. And about the children, you can take custody. John blinked in confusion. What? Just then our daughters walked into the room. His face immediately turned pale. Hey, wouldn't you rather stay with your mom? He asked nervously. All three girls answered together. Nope. We're staying with you, Dad. What? Well, my oldest said casually, you earn more money, right? And we want to stay together, the second added. Plus we'll still get our allowance, the youngest said cheerfully. John looked completely panicked. Wait, your mom actually earns more than I do, he said desperately. It's fine, my daughters replied calmly. Dad, you should feel honored we chose you. He looked completely bewildered. But he had always been weak when it came to his daughters. In the end he reluctantly agreed. Since the divorce was caused by his affair, I didn't have to pay any child support. Instead the settlement required him to pay me alimony. His mistress also had to contribute. In the end I received $30,000 from John and $15,000 from Lisa, paid immediately. The divorce papers were filed the next day. During the week the girls moved into the small apartment where John and Lisa lived. 5 people squeezed into a tiny space. It wasn't comfortable. But that was exactly the point. On weekends the girls stayed with me. Everything was unfolding exactly according to the plan. Just wait, I thought. Soon they'll understand what they've done. 2 months later the moment finally arrived. One evening John and Lisa suddenly burst into my house. Both of them looked furious. What's wrong with you? John shouted. Those spoiled brats are impossible to deal with. Lisa stood beside him equally angry. They're driving us crazy. I looked at them calmly. Please don't speak about my daughters like that, I said coolly. They're wonderful girls. I'm very proud of them. John scoffed loudly. Wonderful? What exactly makes them wonderful? All they do is complain, John snapped angrily. Every day they demand expensive meals or more allowance. Exactly, Lisa added with frustration. And why are we suddenly responsible for their tuition and textbooks? No one warned us about that. I looked at them calmly. Well, isn't that normal? I replied. You are their parents after all. John ran a hand through his hair in frustration. And our place is way too small. 5 people living in a 1-bedroom apartment is ridiculous. Lisa quickly agreed. That apartment was meant for just me, she said bitterly. Now the neighbors keep complaining about the noise, and the landlord is telling us we have to move out. I shrugged slightly. Well, that's the life you chose. And if the girls decided they wanted to live with their father, There's nothing I can do about it. The two of them fell silent. Their expressions turned bitter. After a long pause, John lowered his head and spoke quietly. Please, take them back. I blinked. What did you just say? Take the girls back, he repeated miserably. We're about to have a baby. If we keep giving in to their demands, we won't be able to raise our child properly. I stared at him in disbelief. Raising children is exactly what being a parent means, I replied coldly. Stop complaining. John's face turned red with anger. You've become so heartless, he shouted. You don't understand how other people feel. You're the worst. I let out a long sigh. Don't understand other people's feelings? I said slowly. Are you talking about yourself? I looked straight into his eyes. Who was the one who cheated on his wife? Who got another woman pregnant and asked for a divorce? Who betrayed his family first? Do you remember that? He clicked his tongue impatiently. That's all in the past. Stop bringing it up. His selfishness was unbelievable. Now he was blaming me for the mess he created. I didn't hold back anymore. No, I said firmly. You don't get to close the book on this whenever it's convenient for you. Do you have any idea how the girls and I felt when you betrayed us? You shattered our family. And even after that you kept acting selfishly. John looked desperate. But I apologized, didn't I? He said weakly. Please, just take them back. I crossed my arms. Fine. I'll take them. His face lit up with relief. But, I continued, you'll pay child support. His expression immediately changed. You're still their father. You're responsible for them until they become independent adults. But my salary isn't enough for that, he protested. Enough, I snapped. Don't play the victim now. You should have thought about money before you got your mistress pregnant. Then I pointed toward the door. Now leave. And don't come back here again. John's face turned pale. He stood there silently for a moment before lowering his head. Then he quietly said to Lisa, let's go. But suddenly, slap. Lisa struck him hard across the face. Don't mess with me, she shouted angrily. I'm already drowning in debt after paying that alimony and now you're talking about child support too? This is ridiculous. John stared at her in confusion. What are you talking about? What debt? What's going on, Lisa? She crossed her arms coldly. What baby? She said. Time seemed to stop. There is no baby. What? John whispered. You lied about the pregnancy? He asked in disbelief. Lisa rolled her eyes. I thought you were rich, so I wanted to marry you, she said bluntly. John's face turned white. What are you saying? You bragged about your big house, she continued. But it turns out that house belonged to your wife all along. She shook her head in disgust. You can't even afford a decent place. You're paying alimony and now you're stuck raising 3 daughters. I've had enough. There's absolutely nothing good about being married to you. Divorce me immediately. John looked completely broken. I can't believe this, he muttered. He grabbed her arm desperately. But Lisa shoved him away. Move. I'm leaving. Then she stormed out of the house without looking back. John collapsed to his knees in front of me. Please, he begged. Forgive me. Give me another chance. But my heart had already turned to stone. No matter how many times he begged, I refused. I forced him out of the house and closed the door behind him. After that, I called my daughters home. From that moment on, I officially regained custody of them. And John was ordered to pay child support. Supporting 3 daughters turned out to be a heavy burden for him, especially after losing most of his savings to alimony payments. To make matters worse, the argument between him and Lisa had happened near their workplace. The story spread quickly. Lisa's contract was terminated. John was demoted to a less important department. His salary was cut, leaving him in an even worse financial situation. Apparently, he now struggles just to get by every month. Some people say he can barely afford proper meals anymore. He's become bitter and miserable. When I told my daughters what had happened, they all burst into laughter. They high-fived each other proudly. Their plan had worked perfectly. The 4 of us celebrated together that night. And from that day on, our new life began. A family of 4 strong women. Even without their father, I promised myself one thing. I would raise my daughters with love and strength, and help them grow into amazing adults.